So how do you make your interior design presentations, proposals, and questionnaires? It is a common question. You can try to guess what these documents should include, which is what I did when I graduated from design school and I got my first client. But as more projects came along, I realized that my presentations and my proposals were far from perfect. And I needed to sit down and really think about what these types of documents should include and where they stand in the design process. Today, I want to share with you exactly how I craft my interior design presentations, proposals, and design questionnaires. And I want to share with you when I use this type of documents in my design process. And if you want to use my exact interior design questionnaire, proposal, and presentation templates, there is a link in the description of this video. You can grab them there. Let's begin. When I get a client, I always want to have a discovery meeting with them. This is really the first conversation that you're having with a client, and you are getting to know them. What are their needs, their lifestyle, and if they are a fit for you, as well as if you are a fit for them. A big part of this approach in my process is inspired by Richard Neutra. Richard was an Australian architect who was a very good listener, and he paid very close attention to everything that his clients had to say. So I think this is a very important part of being a designer. So in this discovery meeting, I always bring my design proposal with me, which is the very first document that I show to my clients. You know, I like to see the design proposal as a business card. It contains all the information that the client needs to see before they actually hire you. So over the years, I've always changed the way that I make proposals, but the one that I have finally stuck to contains the following information. So the first thing that I add is a cover page. You know, every good document needs a good cover page as well as a table of contents. So this is really like a book. Every book has a good cover, a good table of contents, and this is really kind of like the introduction to your proposal. Of course, that you also want to include a proper introduction. So this is just a few paragraphs where you are explaining who you are, what is your design philosophy. You can talk a little bit about your design studio and what drives you, just so that the clients get to know you as a designer and as a person as well. Now, after you've had this conversation with a client, you are probably going to get some important information about their project. So you want to make sure that you include that as well in your design proposal, just so that they know that this proposal is customized. So you want to include important information such as the type of building you're going to be working on, how old the building is, how many stories, how much square footage, and things like that. Next, I would personally include my design process. A lot of the times you're going to have clients who have never worked with an interior designer before, so they don't really know how things work. So you want to make sure that they are familiar with your design process, and this is different for every designer. So you just want to make sure that they know what's going on and what's going to happen if they decide to hire you. Probably during your first discovery meeting, you're going to talk a little bit about the inspiration for this project. Maybe they already have an idea of what's going to be the inspiration for this space. Maybe they want the space to have like a certain vibe. So if that is the case, I like to include that inspiration in my proposal as well, just to get them excited about starting this project with them. Also include the project timeline. You're probably going to have a conversation about this as well with your client. So just so that you are both on the same page, it is important to have your project timeline on paper as well. All of these things, as you can see, they're probably going to be discussed in that discovery meeting that I was telling you about, but it is important to have them on paper for two reasons. The first one being that you want to make sure that you cover your back in case that, you know, in the future they might change their mind, then you have proof that there were decisions made and they are on paper. And the second is that you are able now to send this document over to them. So if they forget any of this information, they have a document where they can refer to. Now, at the very end, you want to make it super exciting, just so that they know that they are working with the right person. So you want to include examples of your work, of past or recent projects that you have worked on, just to show them what is your design style, how are your projects, and hopefully they get excited to work with you. And towards the end, you want to introduce your team as well. some testimonials of past clients that have been very happy with your services. And at the very end, you want to include your contact information so that it is easier for them to reach out to you. The last part of my proposals are always a page with terms and conditions, which typically states the rules that both parties have to follow if you decide to work together. So this is the proposal. It's a very important document. After they have reviewed this, after they have talked to you, they will make a decision whether they want to go ahead and hire you as a designer. So let's say that they do, and after that you can send them a questionnaire. Before you start any project, it doesn't matter if it's a small or if it's a large project, you want to make sure that you share a questionnaire with a lot of questions that your clients have to answer. So there are many sorts of different types of questions that you can include depending on the type of project, whether it's residential, kitchen project, commercial project. Every project is different and there's a lot of information that may have to be covered. So I always send out a questionnaire for them to fill out so that I have information to start designing, and also so that I have things on writing. I do have a template with many different questions that I include in my projects. You can grab a copy in the description of this video, but this is probably the document that I will be coming back to very, very often when I am designing. It's going to contain a lot of information that is going to guide you so that you are able to create space that is truly reflecting your client's lifestyle. And finally, after you have worked on the project, after many meetings with your clients, you want to show them the presentation, which basically includes your final design, your solutions, products that you're going to be using or suggesting, furniture, materials, a lot of information that you need to show to your client once you have a proposal for them. Now, some people sometimes do not know how to differentiate the proposal from a presentation. So we've already talked about the proposal, and here you can see that you are just selling yourself as a designer to your prospect. But in the presentation, you already have a client, you already have a project, you've been working on that project, and you're showing your final designs to that client in this very professional document. So the same thing as a proposal, your presentation should have a cover page, a table of contents, an introduction. This introduction can be a little bit more customized. And also you want to include the project overview with more detailed information about this project. Now, in the presentation, you also want to include the client goals. So after having many meetings with your clients, you will get to know them and you will know what they want exactly with their project, whether they want to make their space more comfortable, or whether they are interested in sustainability. There are many different goals that clients can have. And so you want to make sure that you are on the same page with them and that you have those goals listed on your presentation. Now, this presentation you can use every time that you meet with them, and you're probably not going to show the entire presentation in one meeting. So you're probably going to break this down into many different meetings. For the first meeting, for example, you would cover the introduction, the project overview, the client goals, and the design concept. So the design concept is basically where everything is going to begin in terms of the design of this project. And after the floor plan has been established, as well as the concept, then you want to move more into the specifics, which is the paint list. What paint are you going to be using, what that is going to cost, as well as a materials list. So you want to be very transparent, very clear with them to make sure that they're going to be happy with your choices. So after you select paint, materials, and all of that, you can also put that in a board to see how everything is going to be looking in that space. And of course, you also want to add your furniture list and probably a furniture board. And towards the end, you also want to include your lighting fixtures, your lighting solutions for the project. You can make this a list or a board or a collage, and make sure to always include the important information for every single piece that you are suggesting for them. Towards the very end of the project, of course, you want to include your renders, your 3D models that are actually showcasing the final design. There is a lot of information, and it is all about the project, all about your design solutions, and you'll probably be presenting this to them over a period of time. So that is normally the way that you walk someone through a design presentation. So I hope that this gave you a bit of an idea of when we use this type of documents, how to use them, what they should include. And again, if you don't have time to create your very own, you can use my templates, which will be in the description down below. If you have any questions, make sure to leave your questions in the comments, and I will see you on the next one.